This is from Jonathan Looper in Kansas City, I think it is. I was wondering about the passages in Luke 19:27 where Jesus is quoted as saying, "Those enemies of mine who do not want me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them in front of me." How does this square with the idea of Jesus as a loving Son of God? Was this a late addition to the Bible? If there was a historical Jesus, do you really think he had a follow me or die type of philosophy? This would make me think twice as to praising anyone with this type of mentality. Well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is what C.H. Dodd, Joachim Jeremias, and Adolf Uliger have taught us about parables as having one main point in the punchline. It's a story, and various features of it are window dressings. They don't each stand for something necessarily. I mean, there are some allegorical parables, but it seems that with some of them, you're not really intended to do that. It's the various things said on the way, or just to provide the story fodder. This might be one of them, because the point of it, well, it's a version of the parable of the talents that we find, I think, in closer to the Q form in Matthew, where the master goes away and he leaves money in the hands of 3 of his servants. He gives 10 talents, a talent being, a measurement of silver. He gives 10 to one servant. These guys, his servants weren't all just laborers, right? There were stewards and so on. Well, he gives 10 talents to one to invest, 5 to the next, and 1 to the third. Apparently, he had some idea of what each was capable of. And he said, "Now, I want you to trade with those. I expect when I get back that I'll receive some gain on my money." He leaves, and the one entrusted with the 10 talents, sure enough, doubles the amount. The one with 5 talents, he doubles it too. The one with 1 measly talent doesn't do anything with it except hide it in the ground. At that time, a legal form of protection of money. When the man gets back, he says, "Okay, let's settle up here. Okay, how'd you 3 do? The first one made you 10 talents more. Oh, good for you. Enter into the joy of thy Lord." Probably a feast or something. Second one, you gave me 5, I made another 5. Okay, that's great. Enter into the joy of your Lord. The third one, I knew that you were a hard man, and I decided just to play it safe and bury it so it would be here when you got back. In other words, he didn't want to take the risk of losing it. The others took that risk, but they were wise and they made the money. Well, this is the guy. I mean, had he made 1 more talent, that would have been all right. And in fact, I think it's implicit that if he had not made any and lost it, that would have been all right too. At least he tried. But this guy, what, you knew I was a demanding master, I reap where I haven't sown, etc., and you didn't even take it to the bankers to get interest on it? Get the heck out of here. So they throw him out and all that. What's this about? Not about economics. It takes some of that for granted, but the point seems to be you have been loaned your life. It's up to you to invest it, and the time is going to come when God will want to know what you made of yourself. And he wants to know, well, if you've succeeded, but especially if you've tried. If you just don't dare anything, you're in trouble on Judgment Day. Well, in the same way, Luke changes it up. It's now, there were 10 servants, and they're given minas instead of talents, but it's pretty much the same sort of thing. And he explains why the master was away. He said that he was a nobleman who had to go to a far country to receive a kingship from the emperor. And apparently he has in mind, I think it's Herod Agrippa, going to Caligula to receive kingship, and his people don't like the prospect, and they send a delegation to the emperor saying, "Look, we don't want this guy to rule over us. He's going to be a tyrant." Well, they don't prevail, and when the king comes back, having been given the crown, he says, "Where are those people that sent that delegation?" "They're right over here, Your Majesty." "Okay, go out and kill them all." What's the point? Well, Luke actually tells us before he tells the story. He says, because some people thought, some of the crowd around Jesus thought that the kingdom of God was to come immediately, Jesus told this parable to set them straight. Okay, now, what part of the parable seems to address that? To try to dampen the enthusiasm of some hotheads who thought the kingdom was about to dawn? Well, the fact that the guy goes away to get a crown, and it's a long way away, so it's going to take a while before he gets back, and that's where Luke plugs in the traditional parable. There's time for the investments and all of that, right? And finally he comes back. He is the king, and nobody can gainsay that. Well, he's made it into an allegory to say that Jesus is the one who goes to a far place, heaven, to receive kingship there, and he's going to come back, and you'll be on the wrong side if you had opposed him. So is judgment the point of the parable? Or is it just negotiable, negligible window dressing, that something that's simply inevitably a part of the theme of the king going away to receive the crown? Well, I would like to say it's the latter, but it does seem to me there is a threat of judgment. Okay, the kingdom isn't coming yet. To get that out of your head. But keep in mind, once it happens, if you haven't approved Jesus as the king, you're going to be in for it. I think there is this nasty edge to it. Elsewhere in Luke, Jesus says, "Whoever is not with us is against us. He who gathers, he who does not gather with me scatters." So I think there is this nasty edge to it, though Luke has added all of that stuff, so I don't think we can attribute it to the historical Jesus, even if there was one. It's Luke's nastiness. It's not been added to the manuscript, so to speak, but it's part of the redactor's theology.